Before we get into the main content of this episode, we would like to give you some background on the topics we discuss during this episode to give our listeners who may not be familiar with the topics a basic understanding. The Philip experiment was conducted in 1972 by the Toronto Parapsychological Research Society. The experiment was overseen by Dr. A.R. George Owen, a mathematical geneticist, and Dr. Joel Witten, a psychologist. A group of 10 individuals invented a fictional ghost named Philip Aylesford. They then attempted to communicate with this entity through a seance and other means. They crafted Philip's life story, blending real and fabricated events, intentionally incorporating timeline discrepancies and clear contradictions to observe their real-world manifestations. This experiment explored the powerful influence of the human mind and collective beliefs on perceived reality. We would also like to take some time to discuss automatic writing. This is a form of divination. The simplest explanation is writing without conscious thought or deliberate intention. Some induce a trance-like state to conduct automatic writing. It has origins in spiritualism and is believed to be a form of spirit communication. An example of this can even be an Ouija board. There is nothing wrong with your podcast streaming service. We now control your device. This is not a test. This is Podcast of the Paranormal. Close your curtains and stay away from your windows. Lock your doors, turn off your lights. Get your snacks and drinks ready. Get to your basement or attic. The podcast is about to begin. Hello, I'm Gabrielle.
And I'm Jody.
Welcome to this episode of Podcast of the Paranormal. And today we are here with Heather Woodward. She is a psychic, author, a podcaster. She has 25 years of experience in the field of the paranormal, and we're really excited to talk to her today. Heather, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what led you on this journey?
Sure. I've always been psychic. It's kind of a thing in my family. We're all a little bit psychic. My dad was always into the paranormal. When I was a kid, we used to go into the woods and look for Bigfoot. So I'm kind of like steeped in it.
That's so cool.
Imagine there was 4 of us. So imagine taking like between the ages of like 15 and 7 through the woods going, okay, let's see if we can see Bigfoot, like stuff like that. It was his idea of fun. I've always been into crazy stuff. Like my dad gave me, when I was like 12, my dad gave me a book about the pyramid on Mars, just stuff like that. So I've always kind of been into it. When I was 14 in my art class, I created a Ouija board on a glass mirror that I found. And I don't know, I've always been kind of attracted to it. And so when I got older, I kind of let it go, and then I tried to do the corporate world thing, and I hated it. So I think it was in 2006 or 2007 I got divorced, ran away from home, went to Tucson, decided I was going to write a book on the paranormal, and then I was going to be a psychic. And my parents were like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? At that time I had a cushy job, I had benefits, I was like living the life. I was married, I was doing the thing, but I was like, this is ridiculous. And I just couldn't hang. And so I started doing readings, and out of nowhere, I ended up looking at this book, and it had a postcard in it, or was it it was a bookmark. I'm sorry, it was a bookmark. And it says, do you want to write about the paranormal? Email us with the mission. And I was like, okay, there's my sign. And so I submitted, and they're like, yeah, we'll take you. And so I wrote 2 books with that company, and then I decided to not write books for 10 years, and then I wrote 3 back to back just recently. But in that time, I started doing paranormal investigating. I had my own team for a really long time.
Now, when you say you had a team, How many people were you rolling with?
I think it was 10 at the time. We had people coming in and out.
Yeah, that's big.
I was in California. Not everybody went to every investigation. And then when I moved to Tucson, I had, I think, 7 people on my team. But I really didn't like, I mean, I'm real honest, I didn't really like teams because, I don't know, I'm kind of a little bit reckless when it comes to investigating, I'm not gonna lie. I'm the person that's like, it's throwing rocks at us, and I'm all, well, we have to find out where the rocks are coming from. Let's go towards the rocks. And everyone's like, no, and I'm like, why not?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's me.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, not so much. When when stuff starts going down, she's gone. She takes off. She wants to leave. She wants to get in the car, pack up, and say, hey, we're done. We tried. We'll try again later.
Right. No, I'm the one that's like, that's literally happened. That's why I'm saying it, because we were at this place. It's called Breckno's Cabin, and there were being rocks being thrown, and I was walking towards it, and everyone was like, don't do that. And I'm like, why not? Like, if I get hit, I get hit. But like, I need to know where this is coming from. Is it an actual person, or is it a spirit, or what's going on here?
Well, it's like an obligation, right?
Yeah.
In order to disprove it or prove that it's happening, you kind of have to know where the source is, right? Or where it's coming from, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm that person, and I realized that maybe I should probably not do it so much with other people and kind of just take 1 or 2 people with me, or 2 or 3, and do it more.
It is a lot easier with 2 to 3 people instead of like trying to get a whole team of 10 together consistently. I can imagine that would be very hard.
Yeah, and there was a lot of group dynamic that I didn't really like, and people have their politics that get involved, and I'm like, okay, this is too much for me. So I tried valiantly. I tried to be on TV shows a few times. I kept getting interviewed. I kept writing spec scripts, and then they would be like, oh, somebody just sent something just like this in, and we're going to redo it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I just kind of gave that up because I was like, oh, this is too much. I never really let go of the spirit, of the thing, because I'm just too curious about it. And I think that's my ultimate demise, is that I'm way too freaking curious. And so if I hear about a place that intrigues me, then I will go to it just to kind of find out what's going on there. And it's mostly, I'm not really interested so much in the activity. Mm-hmm. I'm more interested in why the activity is there. Who put it there? Why is it there? What's the story behind it? Because I find that much of investigating has to do with people on Earth that are not dead.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of activity is manufactured by accident, not on purpose. It's not intentional. It's not fraud. It's not anything like that. I just find that we energetically, intensely affect our environment, and we don't realize it. And then we're like, oh, it's haunted. And I'm like, okay, but like, is it really haunted? Or is it just a bunch of people putting energy into one place and, creating a thought form? Because that's most of the time what I'm finding, is that people are intentionally interacting with an energy force, and they're not realizing that they are creating the energy force.
Yeah.
And so the last few years, that's really what I've been talking about and working with is it really a haunting, or is it just an egregore, or egregore, as they say? I always say it wrong. But is it just the creation of a myth,
Right.
So,
yeah, definitely.
You're talking not only just stories being passed down from, I don't want to say generation to generation, but stories being passed down over time, basically creating these hauntings.
Yeah. So this goes back to something that I did over the last few years. It's called the Pearl Experiment. I intentionally accidentally created a ghost. It's okay, so how do I explain this? So the Philip experiment.
I was going to say, are we talking about the Philip experiment here?
Yeah. Of course, if you go Thoughtform, you have to go Philip experiment, right? Because that's like the basis of everything.
Right.
So I have a copy of the Conjured Philip, and I was reading through it, and I was just like so immersed in this idea of how much of the reality do we create? Are we in the Matrix kind of thing? We put together a thought form experiment to see if we could actually create some kind of Philip on our own. And so we went through the process in the book and what I could find online at the time. Now, this is 2007, so it's not like it is now. We're talking 18 years ago. Damn. I had to do a lot of research on my own, and I contacted the Parapsychology Association, and I bought all the copies of their notes that they had at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was like, bare boning it here. Now you can just find this stuff online, which pisses me off. But because I remember at the time having to like contact people and
hunt it down and buy things. And, exactly.
Yeah.
And now it's just a PDF online.
It is. It is totally. It freaks me out. But anyway, we went to this hotel. We did a circle. It's kind of strange. We did a circle in the middle of the night using Wiccan principles for this circle because that's all we knew at the time. And that's all I knew. And that's all everybody else knew was, okay, well, if you want to create something, you want to manifest something, you got to have a circle and you got to like call in your intentions and call on the four corners and stuff. At that time, I wasn't confident enough in this kind of stuff to lead it. Now I'd be like, yeah, I can do this in 5 minutes. But at that time, I didn't have the confidence. So we had somebody else lead it. We wrote out who this person was, how they were going to interact with the hotel. We intentionally steeped her mythology into the stories of the hotel so it would be seamless, you know. We wanted EVP, so we incorporated a lot of sounds with her. I got into the newspaper a few times and intentionally talked about her in the newspaper like she was part of the mythos, right? And so we did all of this. Like I did so much work on this.
You're getting the community involved then.
We were, yeah. And now that back then, you know, I'm doing this intuitively and now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I was totally using the energy of the whole town to create this thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, we let it go. We're like, okay, well, if this happens, this happens. If it doesn't, great. That was a fun little experiment. And then 14 months go by, and we had a little bit of communication with her during that time. A few months later, one of my friends had a Frank's box, and we were playing around with the Frank's box, and she came through and spoke French, and we did make her French. She was an immigrant from France. And so I was like, wow. That's interesting. None of us know French, though. So I was like, and I'm trying to, you know, I do channel and I do that. So I'm psychic, so I do that kind of work, right? And so I'm trying to talk to her in French, and I don't know French. And so I'm totally ruining it because I can hear it in my head, but I can't get it out.
Yeah, and we didn't have apps back then either, right? In 2007.
Right.
So no translation on the fly.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. And she did say something like, hello, something about like she's alive, essentially, or she's there. So I'm trying to figure it all out. And it was very confusing for me. And I'm like, am I just not doing this right? Am I not a good psychic? But again, the confidence wasn't there that I have now. And I was like, now thinking back on it, I'm like, how would I know French? Like, some people can automatic write in French. I cannot. I'm not. Yeah. I don't turn off enough to like speak or automatic write in French. Doesn't matter how many words you're going to tell me. If my brain says no, it's not going to happen. And so, some people can do it. I can't get myself out of the equation enough to do that.
See, I always wondered how that would work, right? Because if we had a spirit talking to us in another language, I would have no idea what to do.
It's really hard.
Do you go off of feelings?
That happened to us before.
It has happened to us before. I was going to bring it up, too.
Yeah.
We had German, I think, right?
German. Yeah,
German was coming through, and we were quickly getting on our phones and saying, you know, trying to translate what we thought we heard. But there's a difference between what you're hearing and what you think you're hearing. You can't, if you don't speak that language, you know nothing about it.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you're searching for.
Yeah, fair point. You have to take yourself out. And I am not real good with that, with channeling. I could channel. But there has to be a part of me in there because I do not want to be mounted. You know, I'm not there. I don't want a spirit coming in me. I'm not Bashar. You know what I mean? Like, no, we're not doing that. So I can't let go of control enough to actually do that. And that's what you have to do. And that's really hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's like 1% of people can do that. Nobody I know can do it. And I know a lot of psychics and channelers. You just kind of do the best of what you got. But the weird thing is, though, is why was she speaking French? Like, yeah, I never put in there that she spoke French. We never said that. We said she was an immigrant. That's it. She was of French descent.
Oh, yeah,
we never said that she spoke French. That was something she decided on her own. So that happened, and then I kind of forgot about it. Honestly, we were tracking people that went to the hotel to see if there were any EVPs, and strangely enough, she got kind of stuck in with another ghost on the first floor that was there. And a lot of times we couldn't figure out if they were talking about her or if they were talking about this other ghost that was there because their stories were so similar and they kind of got messed up together. So 14 months go by. One of the people that did the whole thing with us was part of the investigation and everything. They messaged me and they said, we have Pearl. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, somebody has a picture of her.
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
like, what the hell are you talking about? We said EVP, not picture. It's like, she's going rogue. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, I'll send you the picture. And he sent me the picture, and even to this day, I get chills.
Wow.
So we had her as dark brown hair, dark eyes. Later on, not during the actual ceremony that we did and the investigation that we did, after that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I decided to put her in a green dress. And it was an afterthought. It was something that I wrote down later because we're like, well, how are we going to know that it's her if nobody knows what she looks like? And so we put this green dress on her.
See, and that's a good point too. You're writing this down in a journal?
Yeah, we're just writing down on paper and then through emails and stuff. I actually have a website, thepearlexperiment.com. If you want to look at, I chronicled everything. The green dress came later.
Mm-hmm.
There is a woman. It is so clear. The people didn't even know who we are, didn't know we did the experiment, didn't know anything. He goes in there with his wife, takes a picture in a mirror. There's nobody in the hotel. He's talking, he said it was like 2 a.m. or something like that. Takes a picture of the mirror and he goes, there's a person in the mirror. And he's like, there's nobody here. There's nobody here. What is going on? And so they did this whole thing. They were on the Queen Mary. They were talking about investigations at this hotel. The guy happened to be there and he showed him the picture and the guy said, that's Pearl. He sent me the picture. She's wearing this bright green dress, like this velvet bright green dress, and her hair is pulled back exactly how we described it. And I remember going, what the hell did we just do?
Wow.
Right, you have to wonder if it's like a happy little coincidence sometimes, or if you actually created something.
Well, I can tell you that we created something because after that, one of the guys, he did some conventions and some talks on it. Interestingly enough, and this is like a little sidebar that really kind of freaked me out a little bit. Do you remember the Slenderman case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where it gets a little weird, and I'm not saying that it affected it, but I'm not saying it didn't either. Like, this is where I'm on the, like, this is where it kind of freaks me out a little bit. The dude is on Coast to Coast talking about the Pearl experiment, talking about Thoughtforms and the idea that we create our own reality, blah, blah, blah. They're going in on it. They start talking about Slenderman, and they start talking about whether or not Slenderman is a thought form. Like, what is it? That is the episode of Coast to Coast that the girls were listening to before they went and tried to kill their friend.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's awful.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the Slenderman thing, right? It was a creepypasta video, wasn't it, originally? So
yeah.
Millions of people viewing this stuff when it first came out on the internet. And then all of a sudden people started seeing Slenderman out in the wild.
Yep.
I had never considered him a thought form before.
I mean, it fits.
Yeah. So Nick Redfern wrote a book, and I actually interviewed about him because I was so freaked out about that because I was like, wait a minute. This episode that my project was on is now part of the Slenderman situation by accident.
Oh.
So is Slenderman a thought form? And he said, absolutely. And I was like, oh, so you wrote a whole book on it, on the whole mythos of it. And when I found that out, I got a little bit freaked out because I'm like, I don't think Pearl has anything to do it. But her energy sort of turned into the Slenderman energy. If you know about the Slenderman case, the 2 girls that tried to kill their friend, they had tried 3 times, and this was the 3rd time. And they had listened to the Coast to Coast, and they mentioned it to the police, that they listened to Coast, and they were talking about Slenderman, and that's when they went out into the woods. And I was like, well, how weird is it that a thought form experiment that I did years ago ended up on this radio show that inevitably affected this thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, there was like so much that came into play with that Slenderman situation. Didn't the one girl have some form of psychosis or schizophrenia where she had been hallucinating?
She did, yeah.
Well, I mean, anybody who's willing to take that kind of, step. There's got to be something going on up there, right?
Oh, there's a documentary from HBO on it, and they talk about her psychosis. And yes, she was actually seeing him, and she was schizophrenic, and they put her in jail. Well, they didn't put her in jail. They put her in a facility, and she was on a lot of medication. And they're talking about letting her out right now, actually, strangely enough.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happened, and then I kind of like shut it down for a little while because I was like, this is getting too weird. And then, because I'm crazy, I got back together with the original people that started the ritual, who were in it. Strangely enough, this is kind of weird too. Half of the people that were involved, I would say a third of the people, died of strange things or got really sick. Like one person got brain cancer.
Oh my God.
I think two died. One person got brain cancer and the other one got really sick. And I was like, what is going on with this whole situation?
Did it ever make you want to like stop what you're doing?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. See, that's how I am. That's how I kind of approach this stuff.
Yeah.
When stuff starts popping off, I want to stay as long as I can and figure out what's going on.
Me too. And I found out later that these people that were sick were like so into the paranormal that they couldn't get out. Where I take breaks all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to. Yeah, you could become obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's like known to happen to people. They just get so deep in it, it consumes them. If you don't take a few like weeks away or
one rabbit hole
it.
after another, and I have to take a step back sometimes. Yeah, definitely. Which is kind of hard to do when you're editing all the time.
Yeah, I definitely take breaks, or I change it up, or I move into other things that I can obsess about. But like in between this, we're talking like, years have gone by in some of this story because like, I'm like, I can't do this right now. This is too much. I'm hitting that threshold and I don't know what's on the other side of it. So,
but do you feel it keeps pulling you back?
Of course, it still does. So I'll tell you the last part of this story and then I'll explain to you what happens after, because it's still, I get hits all the time and I'm like, nope, I'm not going there right now. Not yet, because I'm still unsure. So I think it was 2017. So we're talking 10 years later, 11 years later, the originals who were still alive and kicking, we all got together and we started doing the experiment again to see what we could do with her, see if she was still there, see if she was still active, see if she would actually show up. We did a lot of sessions with her, very close to what they did in Conjuring Philip. We did the table tipping and all of that. We did it more traditional, and she was alive and present, a little too present, I'll tell you. We asked to be shown things, and they would be shown. We just asked the name Pearl to show up, and everybody who was in that group that time, we had a couple new people just on purpose to kind of see if they could be affected by the energy, and it doesn't matter if you're old or new, it was all the same. But for months, Pearl was showing up everywhere. Pearls, the name. I went to Vegas, and I was in the Mirage, which isn't there anymore. Anyway, I went to, I think it's the Mirage, but there's one where you can go between 3 or 4 hotels. There's walkways inside, and there's a mall in there. There was a new store that showed up in that little hallway mall, and it was called The Pearl, like no joke. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like,
I was going to interrupt you and ask you what you meant by that, whether you guys are all seeing her physically showing up?
No, the name. Everything was Pearl.
A little bit of synchronicity going on there.
Yeah, a little too much, where like everybody that I ran into was wearing pearls, like pearl necklaces, pearl earrings. And I'm like, when do people start wearing pearls? Like, it's not even a thing anymore.
You're like, give me a break.
Yeah, I like when it gets crazy like that. But you have to think to yourself sometimes. Have you ever been in the situation where you buy a new car?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you start noticing those cars everywhere?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought maybe a little bit of that was going on. It wasn't just me, though. It was everybody in the group was experiencing it. Like, we started sending pictures to each other because it was getting kind of ridiculous.
See, that's when it gets interesting, when everybody's sharing that same experience.
Yeah, so I think there was 6 of us together that were in that group that one time, because we did a little seance in a hotel room, strangely enough, and tried to contact her, and she came through, and then we asked for a sign that she was with us, and we left the room just for a break to get out of the energy. And all of a sudden, the alarm goes off in the room for no reason.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what is going on? And it's funny that how it happened, because we asked for the sign of a bell. We need a bell, just a bell sound. Give me a bell sound. And so the alarm went off in the room. I think it was a smoke detector. I still don't know if it's a smoke detector, but I think it was, and it wouldn't turn off.
Well, we had a similar experience with an Estes method, or an Estes session, I should say. I was under, and I kept saying beep, 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 beep.
Oh.
What do we equate it with?
The sound on the radio
The sound
stations.
on the radio station sweeping through.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, it must sound like bells to them, or a beep, or some kind of like noise to them. So
it's the same kind of thing, though. You're interacting with the world in real time. It's just happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were in the La Quinta. It just so happens it's La Quinta where we're at. Mm-hmm. They have a little part of the hotel, and there's a fake bell in the tower. And it just so happens it was over our hotel room.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I was like, do you think that noise is because she couldn't actually ring the bell? And I was like, this is getting too weird. But after that, we did a few more sessions. We started talking to her in real time through like EVP, through all kinds of different ways. And she started telling us that she wanted to be sentient. And that's where I was like, and I'm done.
Yeah, that might be crossing a little bit of a line there.
We're done. Because she was talking about wanting to channel through one of us. And I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
It could be scary because you don't know what you're talking to half the time. Did you actually create something that wants to become sentient, or is it something that's kind of like a little trickstery and is using that against you to kind of take advantage?
Some hijacker, yeah.
Yeah,
we don't know. Well, we did create a sigil for her, and we did create a rumor requirement for her.
Tell us about how that works then.
Okay, so we created the sigil for her so that if we ever want to invoke her, we have the sigil, so all you have to do is put meaning and power into the sigil. You can do sigil magic with her.
And that works both ways then?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's like a door.
Yeah, exactly. And the rumor requirement, it's the same thing. We put her in the rumor requirement because we didn't want to leave her in the ether, and we didn't want to leave her in the hotel because we just didn't want her to like be stuck in this story that we created for her. So we gave her her own rumor requirement, and we did it like Harry Potter, where like you think about the thing and then it creates itself. So that way she can reinvent herself anytime through her energy to whatever she needs or whatever she wants. That was like our way of being like, well, you're everything and nothing all at once. You know what I mean? So put the energy somewhere where it's not creating anything. However, people still do see her at the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is so weird.
I'm going to have to do some digging into this.
I know, so interesting.
I am.
Because she still is part of that reality, even though we took her out of it. I still check investigations on YouTube, and I'm like, yeah, there she is. Just little things that I hear and little things that happen. I'm like, ugh. But after that, we just left it alone. We left it there. It was just getting to be too much. But I can tell you all the time when I'm not paying attention, someone will say the name Pearl, or I'll see the word Pearl really big, or even sometimes I'll be doing channeling work with other people, and they will mention her, or they'll mention a woman's coming forward with dark hair and dark eyes and a green dress. And I'm like, she's still there. Yeah. She's still there.
So are there any smells associated with her? You know, perfume or...
Funny that you mentioned that, of course. Okay, yeah. Lavender perfume, because it's French.
Oh, that's funny.
So people do smell lavender perfume at the hotel all the time.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
The last few years, I've been trying to stay out of it. Again, I've done some channeling sessions with people, or even SC sessions. I do SC sessions, and she shows up, and I know it's her, and it's not even trying. It's other people in the room, and I'm like, here we go again. Why is this coming up now? She's just showing herself. She's just like, hey, I'm still here. So she exists somewhere.
Maybe she's just following you around.
Could be. The whole point of that story is that if I can do that stupidly by accident, there's nothing to say that people can't do it all the time. We have the same stories in every hotel room. We have the white lady the lady on the stairs, the guy that's the mischievous guy that touches butts to women who flirts with them. We always have the little children on the second floor. There's so many stories that are exactly the same.
And it's funny because when you bring those specific stories up, we've experienced those, every single one of those.
Yeah.
Yep. Everybody has. You go to any hotel in the world, you will have those stories.
Not even in hotels, though.
Where else? Have you found them other places?
Oh, historic buildings.
The little kid with the ball. That's a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had that in Gettysburg, I think.
Oh, there's always the lady who had to give up their child and was having an affair with an older man. That's a big one.
Yeah.
You hear all the time.
Or the bride who fell to her death, or
again, lady in white, right?
Pushed.
And that's a lady in white.
Yeah, lady in white, jumping out of windows.
We have, I don't know, a half a dozen of them in a 20-mile radius here.
Oh yeah, at least
easily.
So, I mean, I know that people are, we're on a cycle and we're all very predictable because it's always, love and money and health. Those are like the three things, right? That we all are stuck with, or they're laser brain. But all those stories can't be true. You know what I mean? Like they all can't be the same story. I think we create them. I do.
Oh, definitely.
I think we create them. They're thought forms. They're ideas that are in the paranormal energy of it. And I think they come forward, and then one person says it, another investigator looks at it, gets evidence of it, and then that creates more evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're putting your energy into that, and then the next person who comes puts their energy into it until it becomes a full-fledged thing. And as we investigate, we are just creating more of that energy. And so the story changes with the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden the white lady has this backstory that wasn't there before because somebody got that on EVP, or somebody heard that, or a psychic said something about it.
And it keeps going. Like you keep adding to it, and it's a collective conscious at that point,
Like a manifestation at a point.
Yeah.
It totally is. I've literally gone through stories where, like, because I write books on this stuff, so I have to go back and look and see where's the origin of this thing. And so I'll read about 20 years ago the first story that came about from I did with the Crescent. There's a few stories where I know where the story comes from. One person heard a rapping, and then that turns into this whole persona. Like Theodora in the Crescent is one of those people. She was mentioned once, and now she's a full-blown energy ghost who knocks on doors at the Crescent. And I've been in her room, and I've heard the knock on the door. I experienced her, but she's not even a real person. That's the thing.
Right.
She never was a real person. She's actually an amalgamation of 3 or 4 different people that used to work at the Crescent. Nobody knows who she really was. Just the name showed up, and then the story started to happen. And now she is this nurse that was the second to Norman Baker, and she helped this and did that, and her room, and she knocks on the door and she opens and closes things. And I've experienced her full on. We've seen things open and close. We heard the knocks on the door. We had things move around in our room. And yet she doesn't exist. She's not a real person at all.
Yeah. And I feel like there's so much pressure in the community to have evidence that we're almost like creating something just so that, you're getting that.
I think we do.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, there are some groups that do create and manufacture hauntings.
Right. I mean, in other ways than what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think we do it unintentionally. I think it's just part of who we are. We want the thing to happen. We put our energy into it. We're heightened because we're scared, or we're excited, or we're looking for something. And so we all know that part of creating a haunting is to have heightened experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We accidentally become our own haunting, pretty much.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's just like writing a book, right? You're putting ideas down on paper. People get really invested in these characters over years and years and years, and suddenly they feel like they're real people.
Right.
Right. Yeah, because they are. They are somewhere.
Well, they are. They're created.
Right. So they are thought forms in a way, somewhere in the ether.
I have a hard time anymore referring to our experiences as spirits or ghosts. I really do. I always kind of had that problem, though, because I am very skeptical. I kind of want to approach it as not as a he or a she, more of like an it. It's not a ghost. It's not a spirit. It's it's something that we are interacting with that we don't know what it is a lot of the times. That's where my mindset is now.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The more that I do this stuff, the more I'm not even sure if I believe in the afterlife. And I know that sounds weird coming as a psychic who just does medium readings.
I totally get it. Yeah. I do. I really do.
Oh, no, the more that I realize that we are so intricately involved in the haunting, I can't take myself out of the equation enough to think if there might be another thing there. Always, I'm like, even EVPs, I'm like, well, was that my unconscious thought or desire at the time?
Right.
Because it could have been.
I mean, EVPs that's something to me that feels real to me, right?
It does.
If I get a voice, like we've had sentences spoken back, sometimes you can make out what they say. Other times you could just tell it's a voice. And it's like, almost like that, the Peanuts parents.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
They're talking through their mouth, right? Sometimes you get something like that, but you could tell it's like, it sounds like a voice. Like, what is that, right? Other times you get just one or two words.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does that happen? Because that literally sounds like someone walked up to the recorder, spoke, whatever it had to say, and then it was done. And you're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But that's tangible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm always skeptical because I project really well. And who knows if I can create a thought form I can project on my phone.
You have to
or on a recorder, right?
Yeah.
I can project a thought. I can project an idea. I don't know. I mean, I've taken spirit boxes, like we took spirit box to a Confederate graveyard. Mm-hmm. And we had a full-on conversation with it. And it gave us like details and words and places. And I'm like, I've never heard of any of this. I don't even know if it's real. And then we look it up and we're like, oh yeah, that person that we supposedly talked to owned that property in another city. How is that even possible, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still skeptical. Of course I am. I'm still like, well, did somebody in the group know that? Or did we unconsciously pull that? Did we accidentally do a reading on the person? You know what I mean? There's so many variables, but...
I try when I go somewhere to not know the history. Gabrielle wants to know the history. I don't want to know anything about it. I just want to go into an Estes session and see what happens. And a lot of times that works out for us.
Yeah.
I'll speak full-on sentences. I kind of get into this mode. The first few minutes, it's gibberish, right?
Right.
But then as I go, 10 minutes into it, 15 minutes into it, it gets really, really interesting and very interesting towards the end.
Because you're now in the energy of it. Is that what you're saying?
I think I'm just in like a state of mind, like a meditative state.
Like you're open to it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, is it my subconscious just rattling off a bunch of stuff? We'll have direct conversations.
Right.
See, I think that's amazing. I think that kind of communication is amazing. What are you picking up on? Like, it's almost like hive mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And Estes intrigues me. And Estes is, I still can't comprehend it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I'm still trying to figure out what is going on here.
Well, when I was first doing it, I was just literally just listening for words and repeating them. But as you do it, I found that if I just surrender to it and kind of get in that state and just kind of relax, I just start speaking whatever's on my mind. In between the words and in between the static, I'm hearing conversations. I don't know if it's in my brain or if I'm putting the static and the words together. I just get really relaxed and I roll with it. Whatever happens, happens. Half the time I don't remember what I say. But I'll tell you what, listening back to them, that's a real freaking treat.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like you're in a hallway or a void when you're in Estes?
A void. It's almost like you're sitting in a dark room with maybe a spotlight on you.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, and that's what I was going to ask you, because it's like, do you feel like you actually go somewhere?
I don't feel like I'm present where I started. I don't want to say it's like a dream, but yeah, I guess kind of. Yeah.
When I'm really into Estes, I feel like I'm in a black hole or something, or like a void. It's like I don't remember where I am. I don't know how to explain it.
Nothing else exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I know I'm tapped in. Sometimes I can't get there, but there is a weird kind of like you're sitting in the universal consciousness or something. I don't know. It's a weird feeling.
And it's almost like people are coming to you saying what they have to say, and then it's like a rotation of people like coming and talking to you.
Yeah. That it's so strange.
And you don't know where it's coming from. To me, it's coming from all directions. It's like a beehive.
Yeah.
That's exactly, but I always feel like you go in with one intention, trying to talk to one person, and then it never ends up that. It always ends up something else. I don't know. It's whoever's
always
there at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get a random Michael, Linda, and Russell that just decide to show up, right?
Yeah.
And talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. And you're like, what is going on right now?
I don't understand it, but we've had a lot of experiences with it. We've had a lot of luck with it. So
That's really cool. Are both of you psychic? Like, would you consider yourself psychic?
that's a hard no for me.
Yeah, it's to the point where I don't know at this point.
Gabrielle's always said she's been empathic. And I could see her...
More like clairsentient. Yeah.
Oh, not that word.
You'd rather use empathic. I could pick up on feelings and emotions and different things.
Totally,
I walked in one time to Paul Revere's house, and we were standing right in front of their hearth, and it was October, and I am so hot in that house, I couldn't stand myself. And I said, they were like, okay, any questions? And I'm like, was there ever a fire here? And they're like, oh yeah, the Mather family from Salem notoriety was involved in a fire here. And I'm like, my God, is that what I'm picking up on? Because I had spent so much time and energy researching the Salem trials and, you know, the different things in the society that had led to the trials and the mass hysteria and everything that was going on at the time. And I'm like, is that what I'm picking up on? Because like my energy is so in tune with that I'm feeling what's happened to the Mather family at one time.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it was the only time really that anything has ever happened like that to me.
And you will walk in and pick up the vibe of a room.
Yeah.
Like at parties and, you know, get-togethers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You do that.
We went to an old nursing home, and we were there investigating. We would just be like walking around, and I would suddenly be like, it wasn't where we were, but it was like, it was when it was active and the lights were on and people were there and it had different colored walls and people were being served their meals and being taken care of. And then it would be gone. As soon as I would see it, it would be gone. And it happened to me like 4 times during the night. And I was like, what is this? And then I just kind of thought like, okay, maybe I'm being shown like these like flashes of things that...
You're seeing that in your mind's eye.
Yeah, like in my mind.
Yeah.
Like overlay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like you're walking between 2 different time frames.
Yeah.
And it's overlay. So you're not sure which is which. I always think of it as like you're seeing the remnants of either the most happiest time or the worst time in that place, like where the energy is the most concentrated. And so probably you're seeing it during its heyday.
Yeah, and that would make sense, right? Because that's when the energy is the strongest. So they would have like that imprint there, you know, that would kind of like stick around.
Yeah. Fire is one of those things too, where if there's a fire at a place, you're going to feel it. I don't know what fire does to the energy of a place, but I mean, I know it does change the ions. I've done tests on that. It literally changes how the ions work. I think it makes them more negative. You can go into a place that has fire and you take an ion detector and it'll show up. And then if you like literally walk 10 feet where the fire wasn't, it won't show up at all. So there's something there, but sensitive people always tell me I knew exactly where the fire was. Like there's something about it that fire does something.
Yeah.
It creates like a trail. It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It changes the environment, right? It's destructive.
Yeah, there's like some kind of metamorphosis that happens to the energy, and it'll never be the same. But it's interesting that you pick up on that kind of stuff. It just, you're probably very psychic. You just don't realize it. Or you don't want to claim it, which is fine too.
Well, I will tell you, as of recent, the more I do this, if I go to a location, if we're not having any experiences, I tend to try to pay attention to my feelings, right? What I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. One of our locations recently, towards the end of the night, I got really hyper-focused on the stairway. And as soon as we started investigating the stairway, we got 2 EVPs, one at the bottom of the steps, one at the top of the steps, and then a really bonkers Estes session.
Yeah, the most interesting Estes session that we've
so far
been involved in up to this point. It was really interesting.
So yeah, I think it's important.
That was you tapping into your feelings more?
Yeah, I just got fixated on the stairs for whatever reason, and I rolled with it. I don't want to say I felt anything, Mr. Skeptic here with my skeptic hat on, right?
Right.
But I was just really suddenly interested in the stairs, and I decided to roll with it and said, hey guys, I think we should really check out the stairs here. And we did, and we got some results, so I'm going to pay attention to that more.
Yeah. We're going to end our conversation here for this episode. Stay tuned for our next episode to hear the second half of our conversation with Heather. We'll discuss more about Thoughtforms, give our thoughts on AI, and share some experiences. Check out our website, podcastoftheparanormal.com, where you can listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Are you interested in being a guest on our podcast? Send us a message through the contact form on our website. Want to learn more about Heather? You can find links to her website, where her books are available, and her podcasts in our show notes. Thank you for listening.